Hey guys, Chris here. Today I have with me again Stian from the Charge Point Operator Recharge.
Yeah, hi, good to be back.
Thank you so much for joining us again. People seem to enjoy the videos where you are because these are a little bit of nerdy videos, and today we have maybe the coolest charging video we've ever made together, and that is because we are at a brand new Kempower charging station here in Fredrikstad in Eastern Norway. And these chargers aren't your normal, Kempower satellites, because these actually have a peak charging speed of 400 kilowatts. And in today's video, we're going to talk about all this, the new generation of Kempower chargers.
So what makes this station here unique is that this is a modular load balancing system of charging satellites. You see there are a few over here and even a couple under the roof there that have replaced a couple of fuel pumps, which is cool in itself. But the thing that makes this unique is that the power modules are not inside this satellite, they're inside this big cabinet behind here. So that one contains all the power modules for all the satellites here, and then it supplies it all to the connectors. But what makes this particular station extra unique is that if you look over here, you'll see that we have 400 kilowatts at 800 volts. And so what does that mean, that this has 400 kilowatts at 800 volts? Well, we talk a lot about kilowatts, and that's, the power with which you charge your car, how fast the charging goes. But power, kilowatts, is a product of voltage measured in volts and current measured in amps. So if we can increase the voltage, we'll also be able to increase the kilowatts or the power. And that's what's being done here. So we have 800 volts, twice as much as the old 400 volt systems, which means that we can provide 400 kilowatts of power instead of 200 kilowatts of power. So this is great, but you will only be able to utilize those 400 kilowatts if you are driving a car with an 800 volt battery. And most electric cars are still 400 volts. Now, the ones that are on the market now with 800 volts is like Hyundai Ioniq, Kia EV6, the Porsche Taycan, which we will test later, and probably a couple others. Those have 800 volt batteries, and they will be able to utilize the 400 kilowatts here. The other cars with 400 volt batteries, they will get the 200 kilowatts, or they will be able to utilize up to 200 kilowatts.
We've now taken the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo out on the road because I wanted to drive it a little bit before we connect to the charger. So we're currently at 22% state of charge, depleted the battery a little bit down, and we are at 34 degrees Celsius. That's the battery temperature, which should, in theory, give us a peak charging speed of around 250 to 270 kilowatts. So now we're going to pull up to one of these chargers, which is under the roof here, where they've actually replaced these gas pumps that were here before with chargers. And if you've been to Norway before, we've been doing this for a little while here in Norway, but if you're from maybe, I don't know, North America, this may be new for you. And this is the future of chargers, where we're replacing the gasoline pumps with chargers. So let's hop out now, connect, and see what kind of charging speed we get. So we're now connected to this charger here, and this is exciting. So it says 22% state of charge now, 800 volt architecture, and then it's going to initialize, it's going to do the handshake, and then it's going to pump out, hopefully, well, 250 to 270 kilowatts. And we can see here now it's starting, and it is ramping up now. This is so exciting because what makes these Kempower chargers so unique is that we have these satellites scattered around at this charging station. As Stian said, we have 6 of them here. And then we have the actual power modules. Instead of in the cabinet as traditional chargers, they are in their own cabinet over there. And that means this charger here peaks at 400 kilowatts, but it can allocate the power between different chargers. So say we were here with a Volkswagen e-Golf, 50 kilowatts of peak charging speed. So instead of utilizing, that all of that 300 or 400 kilowatts and not being able to allocate that other places, we are only getting what we request. And that would be 50 kilowatts. But now we're getting 256, 255 kilowatts. that is pretty much peak charging speed at 25% stated charge. Maybe if we were like at 10-15%, we would have gotten 270, but that is peak charging speed and it is slowly climbing. So yeah, this is pretty darn awesome. Okay, Stian, we've now showed the viewers this next generation of Kempower charging stations, and to be frank, I'm quite excited of these new upgrades because, well, I drive one of the few cars that actually can utilize that peak charging speed. But my big question is, this is all cool, you know, this brand new charging station with all of these chargers being able to charge at 400 kilowatts on an 800 volt architecture. But what about the existing other Kempower charging stations like this, which have a limit of 150 kilowatts? Will you be able to update those easily in the future?
They can be upgraded, yeah, because you know these satellites, they look exactly the same, whether they're these new ones with 400 and 800 volts, or if it's the old ones with just 400 volts, the actual satellite looks the same. So we can replace those, and we will probably be doing that in the future. And then, you know, speaking of the future, there's also a question of, will all electric cars actually be 800 volt in the years to come? We don't know about that, but it looks like more and more car manufacturers are making cars with 800 volt batteries that will actually be able to utilize this higher power output from these chargers. So that's something that we're expecting, and that's why, you know, these, I guess you can call them next generation modular load balancing satellite systems are so cool. These are from Kempower. We know that other charging station manufacturers will also have these same kinds of chargers coming out in the future. So it'll be really exciting to see what's going to be available in the foreseeable future. One last thing that's worth mentioning here is that when you increase the voltage, it also allows for thinner cables.
Yeah, that's a very valid point.
Yeah, so that's not the case here because we also have 400 volts here, but when you have higher voltage, you can have thinner cables, and we know that some people find the cables for the charging station it's a bit heavy and clunky, especially if like you have maybe reduced strength in the arms, maybe you're in a wheelchair, then it's really a benefit with thinner cables. So that's also a benefit of being able to use 800 volt architecture that maybe we'll be able to benefit from in the future.
Yeah, and so for people who don't know, as Stian said earlier in the video, to get the kilowatts, you have to, you know, multiply voltage by amperage, and bumping up that amperage means you're generating a lot of heat in the cable. But with 800 volt architecture, you're bumping up the voltage, and then you can keep the amperage down, meaning, well, thinner cables. So this is a really cool video. I hope you guys have liked it, and I don't have to say, or probably have to say, that this video is of course sponsored by Recharge. Stian works there, and we've been talking about Recharge throughout the whole video. But I'm really excited about this new, you know, generation of charging stations, especially where we're seeing, you know, the chargers, these satellites, actually replacing pumps underneath the roof. And I think a lot of people are excited to see that around the world, because I know a lot of charging stations, especially in North America, they're like, you know, out in nowhere, like behind like Walmarts and parking lots. This is an Esso station right next to the busiest road in this, you know, like a twin city here, Sarpsborg and Fredrikstad, with about 150,000 people. And this is like right in the middle of that. And well, we're seeing Recharge building out a lot of those charging stations at vital points like this. So again, thank you so much, Stian, for joining us here and, well, supplying us and helping us with the technicalities and information here.
It's my pleasure. Looking forward to be back again.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.